Welcome, welcome!
It's your opinion.
Hey, before we get started, I got to show you something. So I was cracking open some of my books. This economics in one lesson book. Look what the second chapter in this book is called.
The broken window.
So I read through that. I've never once heard that theory applied to economics that I can remember.
So they're using it to make money?
No, they're saying what you said, that you fix the broken window and everything else, it's harder to let the big things go if you're always keeping up on the small things.
Okay.
I've only heard it in law enforcement, like the New York Giuliani era. I just never heard it in economics. So when you used it as an economic example the other day, I was like, no, that's not right. I found it in acknowledging that you were correct. It's total legit common usage for that analogy. So
yeah, if you don't fix stuff, everything around it just goes down with it.
Yeah.
That's why HOAs don't let neighbors have broke down cars in their front yard.
Make you mow your lawn.
All right, go to my Twitter. I finally used my Twitter last night. Went through some things that I thought might be fun, entertaining, also interesting.
All right, Barstool Sports.
So you got I'm assuming he's just a college wrestler. He's offering $1,000 to anyone who can take him down.
There's no volume?
I don't think so, but I mean,
what?
Well, dude.
Okay, so the guy in the neon,
the buff dude, the guy who obviously looks like a wrestler, the guy in the leotard or whatever.
What the heck, man? What the heck?
He's offering $1,000 to take him down, and I mean, a big dude jumped in there obviously to take him down, but.
Dude.
Yeah, no one's taking him down. In fact, that's like asking to get sued because you slam someone and break their back.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, dude, R. Kelly.
This guy, R. Kelly asked Judge to let him travel out of the country to perform.
So he can make money.
Is this guy insane?
Dude, could you imagine
is he completely oblivious to the charges against him and how serious they are?
It's like, hey, let me leave the country. And I promise I'll come back. I mean, I won't try to flee to a country that doesn't allow extradition.
Panama. I got a concert in Panama.
I've got a concert in Africa. So,
dude, what the heck, man?
Yeah.
All right, Bloomberg. Non-communicable diseases. 41 million people each year. That's 71% of all deaths globally. Most deaths are accounted for by cardiovascular disease, cancer, respiratory disease, and diabetes.
71% of all deaths annually are caused by non-communicable diseases, which means it's not the flu, it's not malaria, it's not diseases that are commonly passed on.
Shared. You can't die. You can't
give it to someone. People. You cannot give these. So it's health concerns.
Yeah.
Heart disease, cancer, respiratory, and diabetes, all diet related. So Joe Rogan, a couple podcasts ago, had these two guys on that were arguing nutrition.
Oh my gosh.
And I actually didn't finish it. I got more than halfway through and finally realized they were talking about, okay, when you eat something, does your brain make you fat or is your body making you fat? Like, is your brain not using the fuel properly or is your body not using the fuel properly?
I listened to that podcast, the whole thing.
Well,
and I was like,
I did not understand what did it matter.
First of all, they have a history.
Yeah, I know. They talked about like 8 years ago. They got in a yelling match.
Well, he was the younger guy, or the apparent younger sounding. Well, obviously
he sounded younger.
He is younger. The other guy's like much older.
Yeah.
But he was a fan of, and even went on a low carb, no sugar diet because he read his book. He had it autographed by him. They had lunch together back when he was a fan, and he's like, it was when I started doing my own research that I was able to like essentially pick apart your anecdotal observations, but. At the end, I was just like, okay, so one of them is saying the body triggers fat, and the other one's saying the brain triggers fat. And I said, I almost feel like both of those are the wrong assumption. Your body tells your brain what your environment's like, and then your brain decides what to do with the stimulus that it's getting. So if you're picking up heavy stuff, it's going to make you build muscle.
The only thing I didn't like about it is they kept beating around the bush, so I had to read through the lines. But I think, obviously, the young guy is... You can eat whatever you want. as long as it's healthy, just food. You can eat food.
Don't overeat the calories.
Don't overeat the calories. The other guy was saying the calories are less important and what you eat is more important.
Well, not even that. The one that was saying, he was basically saying that the calories are irrelevant if your brain is telling your body not to store the fat.
Yeah, I mean...
he was trying to make the argument that your brain tells the body to store the fat. It's not the presence of excess calories that causes
but the one guy's carb-friendly. The other guy is more keto-esque.
Yeah. And I just... That was a horrible podcast.
Well, I thought it would have been
There
fine.
was no information given that
I
was
know.
of any value because neither side of that argument has reached a true conclusion. They're just interpreting really shitty studies.
They were just in the weeds the whole time. Well, okay, hold on. The young guy had the old guy by the tail the whole time because the old guy didn't have any studies. He wasn't really referencing any numbers. The other guy came prepared with like 100 bullet points to reference on his website with actual case studies to back it up. The point was they never came out and they never really argued about. They were in the weeds the whole time. Does the brain control it? Does the body control it? I actually didn't see.
You gotta swallow that thing,
dude. We gotta get different mics. If I gotta give you this close, I actually didn't see a difference. The result, I didn't see a difference. Who cares? What does it matter? They were talking about leptin. Like leptin is in the body, but it's also in the brain. Like they were just concerned, does the brain control the fat or does the body? And I thought the argument was real, which to me the argument really should have been, what type of diet should you eat?
Yeah, I just thought the whole thing was...
It should have been, do you eat a carb-friendly diet or do you eat a low-carb diet?
I thought the whole thing was just based in retardedness. Like the whole discussion, it's like you guys are talking past each other. There's personal issues.
Yeah.
Gary, you're wanting to jump in on every little nuance point, not let this guy talk. But he's also not really letting you talk either, but it's because you're going off in the weeds. You're full on off the road completely.
So how long has Mr. Universe been around? 60s?
I don't know. Long time.
So since the 50s to 60s, we've been having ripped, jacked dudes walk around and win titles for it. Can't you just go ask them what they eat and what they do? Like, I don't understand why we even have to spend money on this. We're really talking about a population that overeats because the 41 million people every year die basically due to diet and lack of exercise. I mean, that's basically what it is. So the easy solution is don't be such a glutton. And they're trying to make excuses for it. Like, your brain wants to make you eat more because that's what's in your DNA. And it's like, how about you just practice some self-control and move more and eat less?
Yeah, Obviously, I thought Joe was kind of hitting it on the head. He's like, this is so nuanced. Like, yeah, the Western diet is a problem. But we also know the Western diet can be worked with. Because obviously you got healthy people on a Western diet.
How else do you feed 300 plus million people every year?
Yeah.
And you're not going to feed them all steak and squash.
And I'll tell you what, man. This last year, because I lost a lot of weight, it was just reinforcing to me that ultimately this game is ultimately about calories. I sympathized and understood exactly what the younger Gary was saying, not Gary, Stefan was saying, where he was talking about, when you get bigger, you can't just eat, you're not just eating 10% more, you're eating 130% more because now you're eating enough to, pump blood through a much fatter circular system to carry a much heavier frame, makes your bones denser, makes your muscles strong, denser. And not necessarily good. It's not like you get jacked by being fat. You just have to be able to, get up and out of the car and up and down stairs. So you naturally expend more energy, gain more weight, which then causes you to eat more food, which then means that 10% excess, instead of being 10 extra calories, is 13, and compound that over. Like, I sympathize with that a lot. And I think that you have to change what you're like. Okay, does it start in the brain or whatever? Well, I'll tell you where it starts. It starts right here.
The harsh reality that
your body can't do anything with calories it doesn't have.
The harsh reality, and it's just the truth. If you want to lose weight, you're gonna have to be hungry.
Yeah.
Don't fool yourself and think you can be satisfied all the time and lose weight.
No, you could be. I would say the word satisfied, satiated. You can be satiated.
Oh no, let me change it. You won't be satiated.
You're not going to walk around with a full belly all
the time. You'll be
full.
You won't be satiated. That was my problem with keto. I did it for 3 weeks strict. I did less than 20 grams of carbs a day, and I was never hungry. But I was never satiated.
But you know what else you were doing? You were working out CrossFit.
But
So don't come with me with that. I wasn't satiated. You needed to eat more. You were trying to lose weight, starting keto,
no.
working out like a banshee.
No, I was eating over a pound of red meat a day. I was getting tons of calories. I was not short on my calorie intake.
Okay.
I made sure I got enough. It was the fact that I had no sugar. I didn't get it. I mean, I used to drink a lot of sugar, sodas and candies. It was sugar and for sure carbs, like bread and stuff. And I was never content. And I thought it would go away. And maybe 3 weeks is pretty short. Maybe it would have went away after 3 months. And I would have been totally converted to not feeling like I'm not satiated. But I always felt like I wanted to pop something like chocolate. I always wanted a piece of chocolate or anything sugar.
Yeah. You've definitely always been someone who craves sugar.
Right.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but
I got a sugar craze.
3 weeks probably isn't enough. I mean, you probably have everything from physical cravings to actual like mental, like I need this. Like
I got over the physical, like what do you call it when you're coming down off something? Addiction, like a
withdrawals.
I got over the withdrawals. It took about a week, and then
Yeah.
I just felt fine. My first cheat meal, which just threw me all the way out. Like I at 3 weeks, I was like, I'll have a cheat meal. It'll throw me out of keto, but I got to live my life. I had McDonald's and felt like dog shit. But it was that one meal that threw me out that allowed me to crumble the whole thing down.
See, I don't crave sugar. I've never craved sugar. I've never been a sugar eater, but I crave fatty fried foods. So, like, for me, the biggest temptation is a jalapeno corn dog.
Dude,
like,
a gas station would be your worst enemy.
It is my worst enemy, for sure. That for me, that's where like Hot Pockets, corn dogs, fried chicken wing, like that's my lane, man.
That doesn't even tempt me at
you're
all.
picking up the zingers and the ho hos, and I'm over there at the hot case. Like I'll take all of that.
Yeah.
So that's where I fight the craving for fried food every day. Every day.
That's my point I'm trying to make is if you want to be skinny and fit and have the six pack, every single day you're going to fight something.
Yeah.
It is not an easy road.
But that's just the story.
That's just life.
It's kind of life. Yeah.
It's just life.
Ron White said something great on Joe's podcast yesterday where he's talking about his advice from Dr. Phil. He's like, this divorce is just killing me. He goes,
your head steady.
Keep your head steady when you putt. You know? That's kind of like one bite at a time. I've actually been reflecting on that a lot. So years ago,
That's not what I took away from that podcast.
Okay.
I took away, no, I'm going to buy the Ferrari. I'm thinking about pussy.
Yeah. That was a good one, too. Oh, God. But with that, keep your head steady when you putt. I remember giving a speech in Bellevue at the Bellevue Convention Center, and I threw a big picture of an elephant up on the board. And I was like, okay, so how do we eat an elephant? And, a couple of people shout out, and someone, one bite at a time.
Just start.
The next picture was a picture of a steak with one little bite. I was like, that's how you do it. It's one bite at a time. And I've thought about that a lot, like, when you're moving a mountain of dirt, like, how do you do this? One scoop at a time. Yeah. Let's stop talking about it, start moving the dirt. Like, it's just, you got to actually do the work.
Yeah.
And it's been... that keep your head steady when you putt thing. It's just part of that same mentality of like, it's the little things, man. You got to putt. Focus on what's in front of you. Read the lane. Keep your head steady. The basics.
You want to know something?
And that basics over time compound to everything you want in life.
It does. So in terms of diet, so I'm drinking diet soda, and I've been doing that for almost 2 months now. I've not had a sip of sugar drink. And I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me. But I'm actually wondering if my body is used to burning calories with sugar drinks. It sounds crazy because you're getting more calories, but I remember there was a point where I was losing weight. I got down to a 34 waist, and I remember someone had told me it was John. John had been like, Chris, you look really good. I haven't seen you in a long time. Last time I saw you, you were pretty big. I'm like, yeah, I feel really good. I have no more love handles. At that time, I ate whatever I wanted. I didn't have a restriction, but I went to the gym every day. I had 5 days a week gym time, and then I just ate. But I didn't like gluttonize. If I wanted a soda, I drank a soda. If I wanted a steak, I had a steak. So I wonder if I'm screwing myself by changing what my body's used to.
I doubt it.
It just feels weird. I don't feel like I feel like I've inflated, but I've been taking creatine, so that's holding water in.
A whole lot of water. So here's the real question. So when you like I always look at like right when I got back from my mission, I was like peak lightweight, just kind of the most lean I really was as an adult. Okay, So I look at that and I look at my weight today, or I look at my weight, before I started losing weight, and I go, oh, have I put on 110 pounds of muscle? No.
I bet you
Right?
put on 50. You're deadlifting 500 pounds and squatting 315 and benching 280. And
Yeah, maybe, but even still, that puts me at like 200 pounds because I came back from my mission at 160.
Sure.
So it's like, I just would say, you can ask yourself that question, like, okay, where's my peak lean state, and do I actually have the 50, 60, 70 pound extra?
What can you maintain for your life?
Yeah, and what's what gets you down to that 12, 10% body fat where you're just at ideal. Everything's good at that. Right?
Effort.
Like your heart's working
It's
right.
nothing but effort the whole way. Like that,
No, I understand. My point is saying, like, I look at my body and I'm like, man, am I 20 pounds away, or am I still 40 or 50 pounds away? Like, am I deceiving myself? Is this visceral fat a little more intense than I'm giving myself credit? Like, am I really barrel chested, or am I just got a lot of visceral fat around my intestines?
That's why that argument there can matter for someone like you, because you're at that point where you actually have to start changing your diet. It's not.
Oh, I'm not at that point. I was at that point, and I have changed my diet.
If you want to get down to the definition and you want to get 10% body fat, you have to know, is it really calories in, calories out, or is it low carb, high protein, that type of thing?
Yeah,
detail.
I've definitely done my research and done my own personal, experimentation, and so for me, I know that the thing that works is intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
I'm confident that with intermittent fasting, I can get down to my ideal.
And it doesn't matter what you eat.
No, like last night I ate essentially garbage food. But the thing is when you stop eating at 8, 9 o'clock at night, and then you don't eat again until 7 o'clock the next day, all the blood sugar, all the excess that I took in, my body burnt as far as sugar is concerned. Mm-hmm. And then it has to switch over to fat adaptation. So it's just a small hack. I'm burning a little bit of body fat every day, and because of the windows in which I'm eating, I don't give my body enough time to build up excess sugar stores to convert to fat.
I wish I could believe that. It's not that I don't believe that. It's that those two guys on there yesterday, I'm assuming are both experts, because why would Rogan have them on if they're not experts? Yeah. Like what you just said. One of those guys could show evidence why that's not true. Like, you don't go into fat adaptation that quick, or it's like.
Well, no, one of them actually said that, because he said when there's presence of sugar.
I know one of them said that. And the other one
switching
doesn't.
over
That's what I'm saying. Is that you'll find an expert to tell you whatever you want to hear. I just didn't have any confusion about how to lose weight until Joe Rogan started a podcast.
Well, your solution was always just run until I can't run anymore.
My solution was always just exercise a very top end healthy amount, which is an hour to 2 hours a day, and then eat real food.
Yeah.
Don't eat out.
So I find with intermittent fast, I think of it like this. Like, they were talking about the excess calories. So he said, to store 10 calories, you might have to eat 300 extra.
Yeah.
Right? Because your body's just going to shit a lot of it out. It's going to process it.
It's going to use it.
Well, but it doesn't. You don't use every calorie you eat. There's actually nutrition still left in what we flush. And so there is a certain amount of excretion, of just kind of waste in the calories we eat, and
there's calories in the feces.
Yeah. Other animals can still go eat that.
A significant amount.
Or I don't know. Maybe 5% of what was ingested, right? But like when you look at is
that healthy? I thought you were supposed to use all the calories you took in.
No,
and if you don't, they go into fat.
It's absolutely okay. Cellulose is non-digestible fiber. A cow can eat that fiber and get calories out of it. Humans cannot process cellulose. So we take calories in the form of cellulose, and then we just pass it through because we can't break that down.
We don't technically get our calorie intake from fiber. We mainly use carbohydrates, fats, and proteins.
That's how we get it, but there's still energy stored in.
I see what you're saying.
I can go eat grass now. There's energy in that grass. My body will not use it. I got you. Okay. So we're not using all the calories we're intaking, but they're listed on the labels because when they do those tests, they put it on. They do
we're not herbivores though, so we can't digest it. I got you.
Bingo. So there's a certain amount of calories, and then also just like if you have a meal with 10,000 calories, you're not keeping all 10,000. You're gonna have a big old nasty shit with undigested food in it, right? You've seen it. Because your body's going to go, I can only take 3,000 in a sitting. I've got to just shit the other 7 out. Like, you just can't. When you, like,
I gotta look that
too
up.
much excess.
I've never heard that.
Huh?
I've never heard that.
You've never had like diarrhea not long after you had a huge meal where your
No.
body just goes, I cannot do this.
No.
Oh, well, maybe that's why you don't gain weight as fast, or something like that. So, but so the idea where he was talking about retained, like you retain 10 extra calories a day, that means there was some excess.
I'm just like staring up, like, you've never had diarrhea after you've eaten? Like, fuck no, what are you talking about? I shit once or twice a day. And it has nothing to do with when I eat. Well, it has to do with when I eat, if I eat the meals spaced out to, if they're exactly spaced.
Like you just said this morning, you were having a rough time because you ate something last night with.
Oh, dude, I had one of those Costco turkey
This is
sandwiches.
This is what I'm talking about. That didn't spend 24 hours in your gut getting broken down. It's pushing stuff out prematurely because your gut's like, get this stuff out of here.
No, it gave me diarrhea.
Okay, well,
there was something in it that my body didn't agree with, bacteria, or I could have got a virus because one of my kids is sick. Either way, I ate that thing at 6, call it 5:45, 6 o'clock p.m., and at 10, when I sat down to take a crap, it was unexpected diarrhea, and then it never ended. I was up till 1 a.m.
So this is what I'm talking about. So when you're doing your calorie calculator for yesterday, and you're going, well, I ingested 5,000 calories, how much? Your body's not running right. It's not processing all of that. It's obviously excreting it, and it's excreting it with water because it doesn't want to dry out.
I gotta look into this. I've never even heard that. I've never even heard that you could shit out calories naturally. I know you can do it when you take certain pills because it's a fat blocker and it doesn't allow calories to be like uptaked into the fat cells.
It's so apparently obvious. 3,000, what was it? 3,500 3,800 calories is a pound of fat. A pound of fat.
Yeah, 35.
Okay. You can do that on Christmas. You didn't just put a pound of fat on your body. You took in that many extra calories.
3,500 excessive calories.
Okay, but you can sit down and have
you really have to eat like 5,500 calories to gain a pound.
Okay, but that's easy.
And not burn it.
You could do that with dude, you've done that at McDonald's. I mean, you by the time you get your quarter pounder, your extra large fries, your extra large Coca-Cola,
you're only at like a couple thousand.
Okay, but then you do that again at dinner, and then you did the sausage McMuffin at breakfast, and then you had a little you had a little snack. Like, you can get a fat guy, I know from myself, easily I could be 5,000-6,000 calories a day.
I
could get there. Have a big dinner with lots of mashed potatoes.
You would have to work yourself in it. You'd be a glutton. But the average guy, if he ate out fast food 3 times a day, he would easily hit the 4,000 calorie mark.
That's my point, though. So even if he's at 4,000 calories and he's burning 3, every 3 days he should put on a pound of fat. He doesn't.
Wait,
every
why?
3 or 4 days because he's got
1,000 extra calories.
1,000 extra calories, but he's not. He's only retaining 100 of those 1,000 extra calories.
See, I've never heard that.
Yeah, they talked about it. They mentioned that exact thing because he kept saying, well, it's not what you're overeating, it's what you're retaining. Yes, it's of the overeating, it's what you're retaining. And that's where that guy was saying, well, as you get bigger, that 10% gets bigger, which means that retention doesn't stay at 10. That retention goes from 10 to 11 to 13 because you're retaining 10% of your overage, but that overage continues to grow because your brain tells your body you need to eat more because it knows it's only processing X.
I wonder what type of foods that has to do with. I need to look into that.
So,
right now is the first time I'm ever hearing that you don't use in some way or another the calories
every calorie you eat.
Not every calorie, but you're not. Like, if I ate 5,000 calories, my body's going to keep 4,900 of them.
It's probably way less than that. It's like if you eat 47 calories today, your body's going to keep the 2,700 that it needs and maybe another 200 or 300. Like, it's going to process through or excrete a large, there's significant amount of energy still stored in what you're processing out. And that energy is it's just measured in calories. So, when they say you need this much for a diet, it usually includes like that excess, I'm assuming, or some factor of it. But that's also why they list out things like soluble fiber and calories from fat, because the source of the calories matters too. And they were going into that too, where he said that's why the Western diet, you eat a bunch of oils and butters and fats, and that's what makes you fat. They were kind of arguing back and forth about that.
When you start counting the fiber calories, it's minuscule.
The other thing too is I think this calculates into it too, like, sugar can only exist in your bloodstream for like 8 or 9 hours. So then your body either
that's why you get low blood sugar.
Yeah,
right?
So your body either just processes it out and uses it all as short-term, energy, or it then can convert that to fat. So, but then if you add in the fact, what if your extra calories are all coming from French fries? That might convert to fat easier than the.
Did you hear on? I think he had 2 podcasts ago with Andrew Schultz. They were talking about Floyd Mayweather and Chad Johnson's diet.
They just eat McDonald's.
And he was like, "There's no performance benefit to it, but there's nothing wrong with it."
So that's my attitude. That's been my attitude. I mean, I lost 70 plus pounds last year, and I still eat ice cream right before bed, and I still eat a nice big full dinner, whatever my wife makes, which could include everything from spaghetti to mac and cheese to steaks, right? And I've been on a fairly slow, steady, consistent drop. And I know my calorie intake is down simply because the eating window, it's hard to get.
You can stuff yourself on 1,500 calories.
I'm getting 2,000 to 3,000 calories a night. I know it because I'm eating a bowl of ice cream, that's 500, and I'm eating, I'm getting there. But I'm not at 5,000 calories because I didn't have a 700 calorie breakfast burrito. I didn't have a 1,500 calorie lunch.
Well, it's something like 2,000 calories for the average male is what they need just to sustain.
Yeah.
And so if you figure throughout the day you burn 500 calories just walking around on a job site, if you're in a machine, you're really not burning that many calories. So just walking around, picking stuff up, whatever, you might burn 500 in a day. So you can take in 2,500 just to maintain.
Well, I think my maintenance is like 2,700.
2,700. Yeah.
But the point is, like, if I can be around that 3,000 calorie amount, no matter what the type of food, in a eating window, all the sugar, like if I had fast food, all that sugar is gone by 8 or 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
So now my body is forced to use fat, which it doesn't store fat in your bloodstream, right? It's in your gut being converted.
Not according to the old guy. Because that's why he was saying the Native American women were obese, even though they were not eating. Because your body was not using fat. So it was saving the fat.
I thought that was so interesting because I'm like, it's like you use the word famine 19 times in describing this tribe.
Except America was helping them out.
Well, but irrelevant. You use the word famine. What's the first thing you learn about yo-yo dieting? Going into starvation mode. Your body will not lose fat when it's in starvation mode. It'll burn muscle as a fuel source because it's going to preserve the fat for the last second. So here you've just described this tribe with these chubby little Indian women's in a.
Well, we don't know if they were fat or not.
They were saying they were, but my point is
they were obese, so body fat percentage.
But what's their lean mass?
Yeah,
okay,
that's what I'm saying.
I'm like, okay, yeah, they're obese.
They didn't do a BMI on them.
Yeah, that's my. Again, I'm like,
well, they might have done a BMI, and that's why they thought they were obese.
You know, like you see those pictures of kids in Africa with the big bulging bellies.
Yeah. That's usually parasitic, though, right?
No, it can be visceral fat. The body is hanging on to every ounce of fat in the gut because that's the last thing before you go.
Okay.
So it's burning all the muscles off the legs and arms and everywhere. So it's like these women are fat. It's like, yeah, their body is preserving the fat because of the famine, because of the starvation mode. Why have you not addressed this? That I can tell you right now, as a 101 biology student that just studied a little bit of nutrition, you've omitted this explanation in the possibility on why during famine.
So you're saying it's a long term. You're saying holding on to fat is a long term preservation.
When your body goes
not overnight.
Yeah, so that's like if your body goes into starvation mode. So you restrict calories down to nothing, right? So like anorexic people or whatever. When you restrict calories down to nothing, and your body then all of a sudden your brain goes, oh, this isn't just an extended period between good meals. This is you're starving. Yeah. So once we hit the starving mode, we no longer burn fat. We go into a preservation mode, which is where we start burning non-essential muscle.
Yeah.
Because the fat we're going to use at the very end. So that's the when yo-yo dieters, this is where they get all through up until we understood this clearly. They yo-yo diet, they get in starvation mode. Their body burns off their lean muscle. They don't lose any fat. Then they get so they're doing this thing where they're getting smaller by losing their muscle mass, but then they're literally getting like fatter in the process.
Their fat percentage
is going up, and even if they're burning a little bit of fat, the percentage of fat is the problem.
Do not take anything we're saying for health advice.
Totally anecdotal.
Neither of us are licensed in anything and have never taken any real college education on how to eat.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
We're Americans. We've taken the basic American stuff.
So let's check this video out. Let's move on. Okay, so what do you got?
This is the Indianapolis Colts training facility.
What did he just do?
He threw a medicine ball into the wall and it put a hole, and now they're laughing because he didn't think it'd put a hole in the wall. He was training. He was just trying to do some resistance training, I guess.
And he put right through the wall.
Dude, there's a hole in the wall now. and the title was, "This is why we can't have nice things." Yeah, you can click off that now.
I think there's...
It's just him throwing the ball at the wall and puts a hole in it.
Is that like a corrugated metal wall?
No, it's a...
Dude, he hucked it at the wall at sheetrock.
You can do that on certain walls, but not a sheetrock wall. So we don't have to look at everything I tweeted. Robert Kraft.
What's this deal?
I'm assuming he snitched. They did. The report says he is doing like community service and stuff like that, but I'm not buying it.
An educational course on prostitution. This is my favorite part. There's some company out there that said, we'll put this class together, and then they got some government grant, so they're getting paid to do it, and then they're probably getting paid for him to do it.
Yeah.
And what are they doing? Hey, this is what a hooker looks like, and this is how...
It doesn't matter what they teach. I don't really care.
If you're paying for it, it's a problem.
I'm not buying it that the billionaire got let off the hook. He knows people, and I'm sure he dropped names. I'm sure that's why they dropped all charges. But they're saying it's because he's doing 1,000 hours of community service.
1,000 hours, wow. Now, the accusation, just for his record, I guess, is that he just got a tug job.
Yeah, I've heard blowjob, but it doesn't matter to me. So if you had to be stranded on a desert island, who are you taking with you from the Sesame Street?
Flying Grover, baby, all the way.
I wrote Miss Piggy. Gonna get real lonely on that island.
Darius tried to tell us about the Florida man. Footage shows the man returning a baby he found in a car.
Oh, so check this out. Right now, go on Google. So this is a Florida thing. This is how messed up Florida is. You can...
What is going on here?
Close it right there. See the close symbol in the center of the screen?
Okay. Oh, this.
Okay. So what you do is go to your Google search. Well, we're not in Google.
I can't watch that.
You don't have to watch anything. Go up there and type in Florida man. What day were you born in November?
Okay.
Yep, now just hit enter. The first one that comes up is your thing.
Your thing.
It's just your descriptor for you.
Florida man punch, squeeze life out of baby. Ah,
dude, yours is nasty. So Florida's just such a fucked up state. You can type in Florida man and your birthday, and you can guarantee something jacked up happened on that date. So, Florida man, November 7th.
This is so funny. Followed by your birthday. What's your story?
You clicked on the wrong thing.
I clicked on the one telling us about the...
Right there.
Florida man jumps in the crocodile pit.
On November 7th, Florida man jumps in a crocodile pit, gets bit,
oh my gosh.
Florida's so messed up, man.
Oh, dude.
So you can put it, you can just Florida man and then anyone's birthday. That's how every funny story starts in the news.
Florida man. Florida man challenge.
Just Florida man.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh, okay. So these next few strings of things. So that's Hillary from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Okay.
Go down to the next one. That's Forrest Gump. Go down to the next one. That's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures.
Yeah, they're coming back out.
They're thinking of doing reboots of all these. Forrest Gump actually had a sequel that we didn't know about in 2001, and September 11th ruined it.
Oh yeah.
They were like set to like start doing it, and September 11th literally happened while they were getting ready to do it. And the trauma that
the
whole thing just squashed it. And they're like, we can't put a movie out this year. Are you kidding me?
So I thought was Andrew Schultz. His podcast was pretty good when he talked about the only movies they're making now are movies you already know.
That's what I'm showing.
Yeah.
You. There's 3 movies here.
It's all reboots. It's all nostalgia, or it's comic books or books that were bestsellers, or really cheap comedies.
But, so he's saying he's not. Yeah, he's right. What I'm saying is, I think they're redoing all these movies because they don't have any better ideas. Are we in the era now where we can't be original? Name an original movie in the last 10 years.
YouTube and Netflix.
No.
That was his point. His point was the creativity The studios won't put 150 million out or 300 million to make a movie like they used to, like for Terminator or like, because there's a risk. What if it doesn't go well?
Yeah.
They've had so many flops, like John Carter was a flop. So they've had big flops. So now they're sticking to what works, which is these pre-scripted, pre-done things.
I'm on a different track.
The creativity is getting sucked up by Netflix and YouTube. You know, like the creative guys are making Game of Thrones. They're making a movie that lasts 100 hours, not a
He was off base
movie.
on something. So Netflix has put out a ton of Netflix movies. None of them are original.
No, they have tons of original.
Name an original one. Game of Thrones is original.
Are you kidding me?
Game of Thrones is original. Name an original movie.
Dude, let's do this.
Show me an original movie.
Let's do this.
Show me.
All right, so go in as Daddy-O. All right, so now we go to movies. Okay. And then we come here. Oh, here, look.
Not original.
Hold on. If it says Netflix, Netflix made it.
It's
Netflix.
not original idea. The idea. I'm talking about original ideas.
Okay,
So
so hold on. All right,
when did movies start?
hold on.
When-
I don't know. These are all movies, okay? And these are all Netflix originals. I don't know where these stories came from. Mowgli, that's not new. The I.O., I don't know if that's a new book. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, I'm pretty sure that's new. Outlaw King, watch that. That doesn't look like a story I recognize. Don't know about Triple Frontier.
No, you're not getting it.
Ridiculous Six,
They're
that's
di-
not a reboot or a rewrite. That's a fresh movie.
Ridiculous 6 is...
Bird Box, that's not a reboot or a rewrite. The point is, the studio wouldn't take a chance on a movie like
You're
Bird Box.
Hold on. All these movies have been done before. Bird Box is original and it was a flop.
But, okay, my point, the point he made was that the studios won't risk 150 million on something that could be a flop.
That's we're
Netflix
not talking about the
can.
same thing right now.
What are we talking
I'm
about?
talking about the idea that since movies have existed, so really like the 40s.
Okay.
I mean, they started way before that, but there was no sound and there was shit. But let's just say since the 60s when movies were kind of cool and up to today, all the good ideas have been taken and people are not able to be original anymore. And so we reboot things because we're just out of ideas.
I just think that...
I'm not saying money-wise. I'm not saying people aren't funding. I'm talking about the sadness that exists that maybe we just don't have any more ideas.
I don't believe that at all.
The 80s and 90s ripped it.
I don't believe
The
it at all.
80s and 90s took everything.
I don't believe it at all. I think that the creativity is no longer in the box office. Some of it's here, most of it's on YouTube, right? The creativity, the creators with the new ideas that can take chances. It's the money that can't be risked. The creativity is still there. It's just the money's not buying it because the risk is too high.
Well,
But YouTube, and that's what his point was. He's like,
That's an assumption. That's not a for sure thing. There's lots of movies.
this is all an assumption, but that's my point. Like you said, let's just use Bird Box. You've got a major actor. I'm sure she raked it in for this. Okay,
She did.
I'm
yeah.
sure she raked it in, but Netflix, for whatever reason, they're risking it right now. He was saying that they're so far in debt, they're actually just trying to sell.
And Joe pretty much convinced me otherwise.
Okay, but I'm okay. I don't know, but my point is, like, Bird Box 15 years ago absolutely would have come out in a theater. That would have been a fall release, right?
Mhm.
It would have been the horror movie for the fall.
Bird Box is original.
Yes, but it came out on Netflix. So when we're talking about we're just not creative. We're not original anymore. Well,
I'm not saying creative. I'm saying like actually out of original ideas.
well,
So click on one.
to acknowledge that there's nothing new under the sun. So yeah, everything has been done.
That's my point. I'm not.
But
I
it's
know
been
for a
that way
fact.
for-
I know for a fact we're not thinking the same thing right now. What I'm thinking is it's sad that just all the good ideas got taken by the creative people in the 70s through the 90s, and show me a movie
It's
that's not a
sad
good story.
that the movie studios can't buy the creative ideas. They're still there. They're just in a different medium now. I'm saying that. I don't think humans are dumber. I don't think humans are less creative.
Netflix is one of those mediums?
I am saying
Okay,
Netflix.
go to the first movie, the very first movie, whatever it is.
Just pick one.
Okay, click on Outlaw King. Let's
Okay.
read. I just want to read the plot. I don't want to watch it. Like, go to the description.
Okay.
Overview. Details? I don't know. My phone does it all for me normally. It doesn't give a description of the movie?
Now you gotta watch the trailer.
Really? They don't write, like, what it is? Because your phone does that, I thought. Like if you look at Netflix on your
I'm
phone.
looking at it here, man. Outlaw King is like a Scottish outlaw king.
What's the overview?
That's what we're watching.
Oh,
It's
what's the trailers and more?
Trailer.
Click on something else. I want to see a descriptor because that's how we're gonna tell. Because they're just gonna label out something that already exists, and they just made a new one.
No. Okay. When the outlawed dad is kidnapped, Tommy White Knight stalker and sets off across the West to rescue a mission of 5 brothers that he never knew he had.
I watched Ridiculous 6 and liked it. It's stupid as hell.
Oh yeah, it's Dumb and Dumber-esque, man. It's in that same.
It's way worse than Dumb and Dumber.
Well, but it's in that same like unbelievably slapsticky, unrealistic comedy.
See, he's going building a building with 2 knives.
Boo that! Goosh!
I think this is original, but I'm not old enough to know certain movies. It feels like it has a lot of Three Stooges behind it.
We stand on the shoulders of giants, right? Like everything we do in life is built upon what somebody else does. When it comes to storytelling, the hero's journey is in every freaking story.
Sure.
So if you're gonna do that, if we're gonna go, oh, well, it's the same. Yeah, every story's the same. There's only so many plots.
That's
okay?
what I'm saying.
But
that's what I'm saying. There's only so many plots.
Yeah. So
Game of Thrones is different, though.
But the thing is I know because I've heard my grandma talk about this. They used to say, oh, here they are doing Cleopatra. Story's been told for 1,000 years.
Well,
like they were remaking books. When everybody used to read books, now they're making movies about books and they can't come up with an original idea. It's like,
there's certain movies that benefit. Jurassic Park, I think, benefited because of CGI. You just get better with technology. Star Wars benefited because, dude, Star Wars blows. How does it make so much? Dude, I can't even watch one movie of Star Wars. Pick a new one, an old one. I'm like, this is god awful. But
that's kind of how I felt about Predator.
Dude, Predator. Okay, Predator. They've rebooted it a ton, which I don't like. Well, they didn't reboot it. They just part 2, part 3, part 4. But there's been nothing else like Predator. There's been Alien, I guess, but that was in space. I don't know.
Okay, so
the reason I posted those three things on my Twitter was like they're just
okay.
Dude, a reboot of Fresh Prince.
I'm
100%
in agreement with what Andrew said. That's my opinion.
Okay.
I agree. But I disagree with you on the fact that I believe creativity is just as much as it's ever been and still out there.
Well, you'll never know. You'll never see it.
Maybe you're probably right because
I
don't spend enough time on YouTube. But that's and YouTube, and I don't watch movies at all because I'm not going to get invested with someone for an hour and a half. I definitely agree with Joe in the fact that all that creativity just went to long form. Like The Sopranos killed the box office because you took this story and you made it 1,000 episodes. Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is like watching the most epic movie ever, but it's 100 hours.
I've never seen it.
It is unreal. Like it is so good. And so like I just look at it like that. I'm like, yeah, it makes total. 15 years ago, we would go to the theater to watch Braveheart.
Yeah.
Now, to tell the story of Braveheart, they're going to take 100 hours to do.
Yeah, they're going to make a TV show.
There's still lots of creativity. In fact, probably more because they're going more in depth on that stuff. But the medium has changed. Box office is kind of dying, which is why they're buying up other media distribution networks because they can't continue to pay Julia Roberts $20 million to show up for 90 days.
That's why I posted those 3 is for a reboot of Fresh Prince. Get out of my face.
Yeah, no kidding.
A reboot of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, like another sequel when they're older.
So here's what I think the play is. This is what I think they're doing. Like with Bill and Ted, there was a cult following with Bill and Ted for a long time,
and now they're the same.
That cult following now has kids that are teenagers and late teenagers. So they're like, if we reboot it, Dad will take his teenagers to it, and now the teenagers have a connection to this character story, and then in 20 years we can do another reboot. It's like they're planting the seed of nostalgia by trying to connect generations.
All nostalgic. My kids are watching The Office and Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
That was our show when we were younger.
When it was original. Yeah.
Cop died in Kittitas County. I didn't really look into it. I just posted it.
Let's see how I
couldn't figure out how to find out how he died.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out, so I just retweeted it just to retweet. You can go back to the feed.
Brandon Tatum had a great thing on Cops. He says, he was talking about like black neighborhoods and they have all this white cops on black crime. He's like, they're looking at this wrong. He's like, you need to look at it different. He's like, those white cops are willing to go out and protect and serve the black communities because no one in the black community is stepping up and saying, I want to protect my community.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, so from the get-go, you're having the wrong conversation. The reason there's white cops in black neighborhoods is because no black people from those neighborhoods are stepping up to, you know what I mean? And he's like,
that's kind of hard. I agree.
well, Brandon Tatum was a cop.
No,
I mean, he is speaking from
I agree.
straight
I'm
up
just
like,
saying, how would you have the citizens stand for themselves? Isn't that illegal?
go apply for a job at the police
I see
department.
what
That's
you're
what he's saying.
I
He's
see.
saying
Okay.
the white cops, the white guys are willing to go and say,
Yeah.
I'm willing to enforce law and order. My community matters. And it's not white cop on
It's
black.
a culture thing.
Yeah, but he's like, you know, where black cops, he's like, in some areas, black cops step up too and protect and serve. But he's like, the point is, he's like, when you go into some of these worst areas like Chicago and you go, oh, there's all this imbalance on the force.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not the force's fault for the imbalance. They can only take applicants.
I know. Yeah, these are the guys volunteering to protect them.
Yeah, so he's like from the, anyways, Brandon Tatum's got some amazing, because he's just he's black, he's been a cop, he's been a border cop. Like, dude, his stuff is tight. He gets it. And then the whale, we talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
Dude, good job, man. I'm liking your tweets. Look at you getting all twittery.
So when I went to Who Would You Take from Sesame Street onto the island with you, I had to Google Sesame Street characters. I didn't watch it growing up. And I was going to take Linda. She was the woman they would always talk to. Like the human that they would talk to. I was like, I don't want to be on an island alone.
I want to watch this with you, and let's wrap up on this. This is 1:59. Okay, so this is a city council meeting in Seattle. I believe this was yesterday. So Seattle had that documentary that came out, The City's Dying. It was bad. Made national news.
I told you about it Saturday.
Yes. It made national news, you know, homeless people being like, cops are telling us to vote you out so they can do their jobs.
Yeah.
So this is the city council. I mean, these guys are, the fingers getting pointed at them. That a lot of incumbents, been here a long time, and the crisis in Seattle has gone up on their watch. So this is, so when I saw that, this is making the round in the news today because this is like, you know, Seattle's a little bit being spotlighted right now as one of the defunct cities. It's obviously in our backyard. We see it.
It's not a nice city.
It's not a nice city. It was a nice city. It's a beautiful city, but it
has the potential to be an incredible city.
But you don't want to walk the streets. I'm sorry. I mean, I wrote this on a Facebook post 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, when I first moved to Seattle, almost a decade ago, family would come up and visit. We'd go to Pike Place and we'd go do the Seattle thing. I don't want to take my family there. Period. No. You come to town, you fly in, you've never been to Seattle, we'll go to the Olympics. I don't want to show you Seattle because I'm not proud of it. It's disgusting. There's homeless people everywhere. There's litter. everywhere. I know it gets cleaned up because it doesn't accumulate much,
Yeah.
at least in the public areas, but it's always there. There's just an aura of dysfunction in the city. Obviously, I know there's some construction issues that make it hard to drive around there, but it's like these city council meetings and stuff that are starting to get posted. You're seeing it. This is why. It's this kind. That guy has paid taxes in the city of Seattle likely his entire
Dude,
life.
and the people who
And
live in
those
Seattle-
those council members think that they represent homeless people.
Yeah.
They think that they represent these encampments that they're inviting into the city, and that's their job is to take care of these babies, not the people who've been literally paid for the seats in that building.
It's funny because I was watching that documentary and didn't realize it was like a big deal. I was just watching. I was like, really interesting. And then I left. I walked out of the room.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, I was sitting there at the right time in the right place. I should have watched the whole thing.
Yeah. So
People that live in Seattle and deal with this should be infuriated because they pay out the ass in taxes.
yes.
I mean, they're paying a ton of money to live there.
And just in the cost of living. I mean,
Yeah.
they passed the $15 an hour minimum wage. It's infuriating to me. I was actually thinking about this last night because Andrew Nguyen, the Democratic presidential candidate that wants universal basic income.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that tie into this. I watched another little video where there was like a military show where they were flying a bunch of Apaches and driving some tanks, and it was kind of like they were just burning tens of thousands of dollars just to
Put on a show.
put on a show. And I remember what you said the other day. Like, I used to be really into like government stuff. I used to be into all this until I realized someone's got to pay for it. And as a
Yeah.
business owner, I watch that stuff and I'm like, oh dear God, that's my fuel. That's
Mhm.
my tank being put on display.
The
Like,
military is different because I think they're doing it for recruitment purposes.
I understand, and I'm not saying it's. I know it's a.
Like they're trying to get people
But
to think it's cool.
The point is austerity, like treating tax dollars like sacred funds
Mhm.
and making judgments like, does this, we do need recruiting. So yeah, there is a value to those things. But like,
I don't like
the
I
city
don't
council-
like the way they talk to him, but I'm gonna defend both sides. He was in a platform that was the rules. You got 2 minutes to say what you want to say. There's probably a different platform to get a hold of these people. So I don't know, but there has to be. If there's not, then
There's not.
that. If there's no other way than that 2 minutes to get a hold of your representatives and change their minds about something, that's
Okay.
fucking disgusting.
So this is what happens. If I'm John Q. Public and I want access to my council members, I have to go to a public meeting. Okay, they're legally obliged to do stuff like that. Now, if I want private access, now I have an access problem.
Mhm.
Do I pay for it? Do I make a private appointment? Can I get past the gatekeepers? Right? Like, for him to go sit down with those council members, he's got to get access. Does John Q. Public have
It
access?
sounds like what needs to happen. So that
That's why pay to play schemes
I know.
and stuff like
I'm
that.
already
are
putting
so
myself in
bad.
his shoes if I really cared about my community. And let's say that happened and I'm like, you know what? I need to find a different platform with these people. So then I try to make an appointment with the council members individually. And they're like, oh, sorry, sir, we're 90 days out. Like, okay, I'll take an appointment in 90 days. 90 days rolls around
And they get a 5-minute appointment. and
well, not even that. The gatekeeper pushes you out or,
Yeah.
they're busy. Oh, something came up. And after a while, I get the picture that they're never going to meet with me. And I'd say, okay, then I'm going to go and form a community. I'm going to get everyone in the community and we're going to form an alliance. And then we're going to begin to take them down. We're going to go to the news organizations. We're going to go to Twitter.
make a documentary
We're going to go on Instagram. We're going to make a documentary with a freaking handheld video
because
camera.
you didn't listen.
And I'm going to band together with as many citizens as I can in that community that are controlled by that council.
Yeah.
And maybe I get 1,000, maybe I get 200, maybe I've got 5,000 people in this thing. And we meet once a quarter or once a month, and finally, the people stand up and take care of themselves. You have to.
So it's almost 2 years ago when they were trying to pass the head tax in the city of Seattle. So you had to pay so much per head that you employed, and then they were going to use all that money to go to the homeless people. And Amazon, building a bunch of stuff in Seattle, froze all construction activities and said, we're not continuing anything because we have to pay a head tax on all these construction workers. Like, it's just ripples. And so they went from $500 head tax to $250, and Amazon and other businesses were like, no, you're putting all the burden on the employers to deal with this problem, and it's your problem. And so there was one of the city council members, she's an Indian American lady, and she represents labor. She's a socialist. So she gets up, but better labor needs to do this, and we need better labor. And all these construction workers, guys wearing high vis, bunch of people went to her little rally, and every time she opened her mouth, no new head tax, no new. Every time she opened her mouth, for like an hour, they did this. And I remember thinking, like, she has never listened to those people. She has never sat down with any one of them and said, what are the implications or the ramifications of doing this? And they had to show up and basically, pitch a fit. And it's like, why do we get to that point? Like, this is why.
Yeah.
That's why. Because stuff like that happens so much, you finally get someone that says, I'm doing something
The
about
only
it.
reason I actually care about this video that you showed is because I feel like that's where you can make a difference. When we watch like high-end political videos, I'm like, dude, nothing's going to happen. Hillary Clinton's not going to go to jail. Bill Clinton's still going to get his dick sucked. Like, all this stuff is still going to happen with all these higher-ups I have no control over. But if I lived in Seattle, I could control that.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of those people.
Yeah.
I could control them. I could band the citizens together to do the right thing, kick the homeless out of the city, give them a way to make money, something other than sitting on the street.
Yep.
Something different. Maybe we come up with a tax, a 1% tax that goes to homeless when they do work. Maybe they clean our streets. Maybe we do something that gives them the ability to earn income.
Mhm.
You got to create jobs. And then if they don't want to do it, you kick them out. I mean, there's trillion ideas you can do, but it just sounds like I'm 35. I can't afford to live in Seattle, so I don't live there, and I wouldn't live there even if I could. But let's say I did want to, I couldn't afford it.
Dude, you can live there for free.
I know.
Like, the
Hold
city
on.
will literally pay you
I
to
know,
live
I know,
there.
but hold on. That guy's old. He lives there
No,
because
but
he
the
probably grew
problem
up there.
is you can live there for free. The city will pay you. They'll give you food. They'll
Not
give you
everyone.
medical care.
Well,
they'll
hold
give
on.
you free
I'm
drug
trying to
site.
make a
You
point.
can use all the drugs you
Let
want
me make
at
my
a free
point.
drug site.
Let me make my point. The point why this is happening is look at that lady. Look at the guy that was standing up. That's the people in that community. They're fucking old. They don't understand how things work anymore. And they're mad, but they don't know what to do. We know what to do, but we don't live there, so we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So that's why Seattle's that way, is because the demographic over there is at an age where they either move, they get out of there, or they can't move and they have to put up with it because they don't know how to stand up for themselves.
What they were. You're exactly right.
That lady, how does she know how to stand up for herself?
You're exactly right.
Who's going to stand up for her?
You're exactly right. The system has broke down to the point to where you get 2 minutes.
You have
to
a
make your
docile
case.
community that those people rule over.
Yeah, and they're bringing in, like I was saying, it's free to live in Seattle. You can be homeless in Seattle for free. They'll pay you to be homeless there.
Okay.
I mean, they will exempt you from a bunch of laws. They'll clean up after you. You can just go park your RV on the street, and they'll send crews to clean up after you. You can get free medical care. You've got food banks all over the place. You get 3 squares a day. Like, you can live pretty good, a lot. You can use all the drugs you want at a free injection site. Like, you can live in Seattle for free. Now, if you want to live in a house, it's going to cost you through the roof.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and you're going to have to pay for the people that aren't paying their property. The people that contribute nothing, no property taxes,
That's
very
what I'm
little
saying.
sales tax. They really don't buy that much stuff.
I could get involved in local level government when it's that bad.
Yeah.
But so we need to wrap up this. We're going to talk again tomorrow. This has been Anchor in the Buoy. That's your opinion.
All right.